One of the most time-consuming parts of compliance work is the back and forth around evidence. Control owner assigns a task, the assignee isn't sure exactly what to submit. They upload something, it gets reviewed, it comes back incomplete, and that cycle repeats annually for every control. This demo shows how Haley, 6clicks' proprietary AI engine, handles that loop automatically. So your team spends less time chasing and more time on work that actually moves the needle. We'll start in the test register. We can see that a test has already been set up against the MFA control that was previously created. The test is called MFA Enforcement Privileged Accounts, in brackets, Microsoft Entra ID. Before anyone's been asked for evidence, Haley has automatically generated a validation guide. The guide defines exactly what valid evidence looks like for this control and asset. It's based on the linked control definition and asset and what the assessors typically look for in the real world. The guide lays out exactly where evidence is needed, what it should show, and what a gap looks like. Pass criteria and fail criteria are also covered. You can review and edit this guide if your organization has specific requirements. But in most cases, Haley gets you most of the way there without any manual effort. I'll confirm the guide looks good and we're ready to go. Now switching to the control owner's view. The person responsible for submitting evidence gets a notification through their task queue, the same place they'd see any other task. I'll click on this task. We can see exactly what's being asked for. They upload MFA conditional access policy, version 1.12. Hit open. Haley analyzes immediately against the validation guide. Here's what it finds. Partial. 2 requirements met, 1 partially met, 2 not met. Haley breaks it down. The policy exists and MFA is the grant control. That's good, but there's a coverage gap. The policy only targets global administrators. Other privileged roles, privileged role, administrator, security administrator, aren't included yet. The policy is also still transitioning from report only to enabled. With no evidence, the transition is complete. 4 gaps in total, each with a priority rating and specific suggested actions. Haley cites the exact section of the document for every finding. The control owner works through the gaps, updates the policy, and uploads version 1.13. Haley revalidates. Passed. Strong evidence quality this time. 5 requirements met. The updated policy now covers all in-scope privileged roles, including on-premises identities synced via Entra Connect. Sign-in logs for the review period show MFA enforced across the board. Break glass accounts document and control. Every finding cited to a specific section of the document. The task also advances automatically. Now I switch back to the compliance manager's view. When they open the test log in the test record, it's all there. Initial submission, Haley's gap finding with its full reasoning, control owner's response, updated evidence, file validation. Every step timestamped, every step attributed. The manager approves, test status moves to passed. Haley knew what good evidence looked like because it built the validation guide itself. From the context provided by the link control, the framework, and asset, it connected all of it. When the evidence fell short, it said exactly why, not just a red flag, a reasoned finding. And the trail is all there. Nobody chased, nobody summarized, nobody pieced together an email thread at 11 p.m. before an audit. It was captured as it happened. So that covers manual evidence collection, which works for environments and controls where automated collection is not an option. But where possible, you don't want to rely on someone uploading a document at all. You want the compliance signal to arrive automatically from the tools already running in your environment. The goal, of course, is continuous monitoring, where no manual effort is required. However, the challenge is often tool diversity. Every business unit picks their own tools. We've heard about government agencies still running systems from 1997 with no API access. Cloud-native GRC platforms just don't work there. Existing platforms try to solve this with hundreds of pre-built connectors. This works for many, but can be a rigid model if your system isn't on the list. What's more, your data flows through their infrastructure, not yours, which in many cases is a non-starter for highly regulated industries, government, and defense. Our answer is different. In this demo, instead of 6clicks building the integrations, I'll show you how Haley helps you build them for whatever systems you're actually running. Before I get started, it's worth highlighting this capability is still in development, but we really wanted to share it with you today because we're very excited about its potential. Let's get started with the demo. So I'm in our register and I want to hook up continuous automated testing for our Jira instance. That's where our change requests live for one of our ICT change management controls. And it's mapped to DORA and ISO 27001. Now, before I carry on, we know Jira is a well-known cloud platform. So this is one of the easy ones. For on-premise or more bespoke systems, Haley can help you work through it through the integration, as long as you have the documentation available. The Sovereign GRC use case is very much supported. This just happens to be a clean example to show you the capability. I'll open a conversation with Haley. I need to demonstrate our change approval process is compliant with DORA. We use Jira. Haley responds saying it can help and even spots that evidence from Jira could also demonstrate change management coverage in ISO 27001, not just in DORA. Also, Haley knows Jira's API, that every Jira setup is different. So it asked a few questions. The Jira issue type for change requests, the project key, the status that signals a change is approved, and how often to poll. I'll answer the questions. Story, ops, approved for release, and scheduled for every day, please. Haley confirms its understanding before going ahead and creating a recipe for the workflow builder. Once done, Haley lets me know the recipe is set up and reminds me to add the Jira connection in the workflow builder and to activate it. I'll click through to take a look at the recipe. There it is, all set up, polls daily for tickets that hit approved or implemented, pulls the right fields, evaluates our logic, and posts results to the 6clicks API. I'll need to set up the connection to our Jira instance, which Haley reminded me about previously. Then start the recipe. Okay, that's up and running now. So while we wait for the trigger to run, we realize our embedded workflow builder will work well for some environments, but we know for teams running on premises or where data sovereignty means nothing leaves the network, it might not be suitable, which is why we'll also be supporting other popular enterprise workflow tools like N8N. The process will be similar though, where Haley generates the recipe or workflow, you copy and paste it straight into your workflow tool, be it self-hosted or cloud. And for the more technical teams, you don't need a recipe builder or workflow builder at all to benefit from this. You can poll our API directly with your test definitions and results, and Haley will automatically map them to the right controls. The two other approaches to choose from based on what suits your team's requirements and environment. Right, we've given this recipe enough time to trigger, so I'll switch over to the test register now to show you what's happened. Haley has set up the automated test, and it looks like the first Jira poll has already run. Let me click into the tests. Haley has set up the test description, owner, automated, and daily. Also automatically mapped to our existing change management control, a Jira asset, and the relevant provisions. Let's look at how Haley has configured this test. Yes, set to daily. The data source is the Jira recipe we set up in the workflow builder. I can see how often this runs and when a failure actually triggers a notification. Because a failed finding isn't always a real problem, you get to decide what warrants action. One person we spoke to described it well. It's kind of like a boy who cried wolf. If you can't tune it down, it gets hard to see what's important. Looking at the test log, I can see a result has arrived. No manual app upload required. Haley mapped it, reviewed it, and the first run of the test has passed. Now let's look at the findings. Looks like there's one medium priority, missing rollback plan, and 2 low priority findings. I can acknowledge, suppress, or apply a compensating control so they don't keep getting notified on issues we're already aware of. Now I want to zoom out, switch to the controls register. Filter using the advanced filter using linked data. Let's select tests. Filter on status, where they've failed. Let's also include controls where assets are software. In other words, I want to see all the controls where tests have failed on our software assets. There they are. the MFA control from earlier, change management control we just set up, anything else across the DORA estate that needs attention. No report, no dashboard, just the things that matter right now. So, quick recap of what we just did. I described the automated monitoring I wanted in plain language. Haley built the recipe, defined the tests, and even mapped everything to our frameworks, all in one conversation. Jira keeps running as it always has. You control what gets shared. And from that point, evidence just happens every day without anyone asking for it. That's Intelligent GRC, not a platform that requires you to work around their integrations list or stops at the cloud. It's the platform that adapts to your working environment, not the other way around.